Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. Today I wanted to talk about the state of Star Citizen's persistent universe by the end of 2018, what we can expect, what I'm looking forward to, and will it sort of be a game worth sitting down and playing for players that are more mainstream and that are not already fans. I get asked a lot of questions about, is Star Citizen worth buying at the moment? When is it going to be released? When will the persistence get better? Or when will there be purchasable ships? I'll try to answer some of those questions now and just talk about what we can expect 3.4 and what they're trying to do by the end of this year. Star Citizen is in alpha development, and it is incredibly unique in the way that it handles the development that it does with quarterly releases, coming out, updating major systems in the game. From a marketing point of view, these alpha patches are basically major polished milestones, but in actuality, its features and gameplay loops are for testing, and it is missing a huge portion of the game. Not even all the core systems are there yet, and the way that they do show the development in this open style has been a double-edged sword for the project's development. And the core mechanics and gameplay that's there is in flux at the moment, so even the flight model, which is core to the game, is being updated. There's no real progression on server meshing tech, as it's waiting on dependencies to be developed and implemented. For people that love the project and testing the bleeding edge, seeing cool stuff and helping the development, this is actually pretty awesome the way they do stuff. But for those that want a sit down and play for hundreds of hours game in a more fleshed out, developed state, it's not so appropriate. Looking at the roadmap and the current progress, by the end of the year, with 3.4 coming out at the end of December, Star Citizen may be getting a bit more mainstream traction by potentially nailing down some of those more important parts to a more playable state. The flight model is a core part of Star Citizen and probably one of the most, if not most important parts of the game. It is about spaceships and pew-pewing after all, and there have been ups and downs with the flight model over the development of the game. Other than a couple of notable patches, the flight model has been pretty poorly implemented in the past, or has had issues or with other features that cause bugs, and it's not been balanced properly, and the combat sucks occasionally, that sort of stuff. So we've had some good times. There have been some great patches that have actually made Arena Commander and flight and combat in the game quite fun, but there have been patches where that's not the case, and currently that is true. With 3.2, the flight model is not great. They've now formed a team that's dedicated job is to design and implement the flight model. This should mean less problems with bugs and issues like physics breaking and stuff like that. They have talked about the intention of making the flight a bit more simple. In ships, they want to have turning circles. They want ships to feel responsive, but they want thought in how you maneuver. They want certain ships to have sort of like unique characteristics. They don't want all ships to be able to straight left, right, and around a target at high speed. That will be more of a thing that are for the K2ALs, the Xi'an Scouts, purpose-built ships for strafe fighting. Gravity, atmospheric flight, this will all be taken into account with the flight model, but the idea is to get more nuances and more tactics available for combat to make that part of the game, that core part of combat and maneuvering, enjoyable, fun, and meaningful. So what this should mean for the game is that once they've nailed down a flight model, which may obviously require balancing, it will mean that skills should be pretty transferable. So learning how to fly ships and getting good as a pilot will mean a lot more, as they won't be constantly throwing out or reworking the flight model, or at least they shouldn't. There's always a chance that the core of the flight model will need a lot more work, or is trash or whatever, but with so much work going into that now, I would genuinely be terribly disappointed if it wasn't stable and pretty fun for 3.4, but obviously it will require dialing in a bit, but I am hoping that, as I said, their skills are going to be transferable, there's going to be a good foundation of a flight model there at the very least. Performance and dialing in object container streaming is obviously very important. Client-side object container streaming is coming in 3.3.5 mid-quarter 4. With 3.4, however, this should see even more improvements. So object container streaming is core tech, giving much better frame rates and efficiency. You'll need less RAM, both graphics card and system-wise. We are missing the server-side object container streaming in 3.3.5. That could make it into 3.4. There's certainly going to be iterations and better implementation of it in 3.4. But whatever, we'll have better frame rates across the board. If they can get server-side object container streaming in as well by 3.4, that should increase the cap of players on each server as well. That is required for greater player caps. Each patch will have additional missions and more variation to those missions that we already have. So 3.4 has ArcCorp and Hurston from the previous patch, as well as the associated moons with those two large bodies. It's a huge gameplay area, but also this will have new missions and new mission givers, and we should see improvements to the multiplayer aspects for multi-crew, potentially mission sharing as well. So they've talked about mission sharing and reward sharing for missions when you're working together in groups. I know they've been working on it. Don't know if it's 100% planned for 3.4 as it's not on the roadmap, but I'm expecting it there. General interaction with your crew and other players is so important for a multiplayer game. And a lot of those party systems, group systems, the improvements they're putting in between now and 3.4, face over IP, voice over IP, those systems should be a lot more ironed out by the end of the year. The ability to communicate easily in-game is awesome, and getting that dialed in properly is going to be really great. Building that sort of like player interaction, giving reasons for players to talk to each other, having that emergent gameplay there that can sort of like evolve out of that interaction. That's just so integral to the game. The general tweaks to procedural tech as well. So cities, biomes, space stations, missions, encounters, planets, moons, outposts, and the larger gameplay area, just space in general, all benefit from advances to procedural tech. Something which improves significantly with each of the quarterly updates. There is going to be much more of an expanded gameplay area, with obviously Hurston and its moons, as I previously said, but with 3.4, you're also getting Lorville's business district and those genuine like procedural cities, those giant cities, lots more biomes, stuff like that too. Female characters. So they've been long needed in the verse for ages, and 3.4 brings greater customization to characters and the ability to create female avatars, so players can actually be female characters. And there's going to be lots more NPCs running around that are female as well, because they have all the animations in and that sort of stuff too. So by 3.3.5, we should have rentable ships in the persistent universe as well, or at least that's been heavily hinted at. With 3.4, I'm hoping this gets more attention and we could see ship purchasing too. Now, we've been wanting ship purchasing for ages, but to be honest, as long as there are ways to obtain ships in-game through rental or whatever in the persistent universe, I'm going to have much more of a reason to play as I actually have progression. The more things there are to buy, rent, advance to, and we'll see more items and things to buy in 3.4 as well by the end of the year. Another thing, I suppose, as well, is that those items that you purchase and ships in general will function better. So the item system 2.0 functionality that we've been adding for a while now is starting to take shape. We're seeing power allocation actually be meaningful. MFDs, so the multifunction displays and sort of like consoles and terminals, they're getting more functionality for multi-crew. Turrets are seeing a lot of work to get them into a good place. Again, that multi-crew gameplay is essential, having turrets that are actually effective, having reasons for crew members to actually come with you in a ship together rather than all fly their own ships, and then having them allocate power, tweaking shields, man the gun turrets, and then share those mission rewards is all super important. There will be constant changes to balance, obviously, especially with that new flight model, FPS AI, AI behaviors. So obviously 3.3 is getting FPS AI, which is so important. That is sort of like one of the obviously core things there. PvE encounters effectively, but now on the ground and with actual characters defending ships and stuff like that. So a lot of work has been focused on AI for both first-person shooter elements and that flight combat. And this is essential for missions and gameplay loops, exploration and things to do in the game. 3.4 is adding stealth gameplay to that AI as well, so they will react to stealth, you can hide from them, you can sneak around, things like that. They're adding more and more tactics and reactions to the AI for combat and how they move around the verse, and this is going to sort of like further refine what the AI can do. We're not going to have too much in the way of sort of like economy-based AI yet, or the overarching God AI, sort of like generating too much in the way of dynamic missions and the dynamic economy, but it's all sort of like getting there at a foundation level now. Eventually we will have AI that react to missions and go out and go mining and then actually bring resources back to a planet. In the meantime, we'll sort of have that faked. So they will spawn AI or NPCs in that will come and land and look like they're in landing zones and doing things. They might not actually be doing stuff, or they might be entirely simulated. But in the future, they are actually going to be part of that dynamic economy and reasons for them being there, rather than just adding flavor and life to the area. But I'm very much looking forward to just looking for derelicts and outposts and things like that are infested with pirates and might have loot there. That FPS sort of like anxiety that you might have to defend yourself at any point because there are now NPCs on the ground is sort of like balanced with the risk and reward, and it's just adding more and more gameplay to the actual game. They are also adding a projectile manager to implement physics systems. That's going to improve projectile functionality in the game. That should go quite nicely with weaponry balances that they're doing and the new flight model. There are a huge amount of other improvements as well with like quantum plotting. So we're about to bring up the mobiGlas and actually plot routes. We'll need to be conscious about refueling at rest stops around the verse as well. There's going to be scramble races. So that's the Destruction Derby races. When we're getting them in 3.3, but they're going to evolve a bit by the end of the year. And there's a load of ships and vehicles that they're also getting in. Actually, I think by the end of the year, there's only around 20 vehicles plus their variants on the ship matrix anyway, left to be made flyable or drivable. And some of these are already, for the most part, ready, but are too large for the persistent universe, or they're coming out with Squadron 42, Episode 1. So things like the Idris and the Javelin are pretty close to completion, if not ready, but they're not totally suitable for multiplayer yet, because they need object container streaming and that sort of stuff in. But that is becoming much more of a possibility now. That tech is getting there. By the end of the year, we could start seeing capital ships. I mean, it's going to be amazing when they are there. But they require object container streaming, both client and server side. So what's going to be missing? Well, we're still going to have server resets. So every minor and major patch, we're probably going to get our Alpha UEC purchases and Alpha UEC reset, which might annoy people. There are still going to be bugs and crashes and issues for sure. There isn't a huge amount of gameplay loops yet. So we're still waiting on medical gameplay, salvage, exploration, science, repair, loads and loads of stuff. So it's possible that we might get something like salvage brought forward before the end of the year. So we might get it by the end of the year, although it's not currently on the roadmap, and that is holding out very much on hope. So what's essential they get done by the end of the year really is a solid flight model, object container streaming, weapon reworks, high frame rates. That means that Arena Commander and general ship combat can be a lot more competitive and fun to do, and people will actually start to learn to fly because there's a reason to, because those skills will be transferable. Basically, 3.4 refines bug fixes and improves what we're getting in 3.3 and 3.3.5, but also adds a lot more reasons to play and should give us a lot more reasons to want to play. For me, it's a lot about accessibility to fun. I want to be able to jump in to the verse, whether it's me or a group. And if I just want to play solo, great. If I want to play with a group, great. And I want to be able to quickly and easily access missions. So I want to be able to go, well, I don't really want to go out and plan something with a load of people. I just want to jump into this mission. Bam. I should have access to that. And that's the sort of stuff that we're going to be getting as the game gets more and more developed. But also, I want to be able to go out and go, yeah, I want to go mining for the day. And that accessibility to being able to mine when I have a prospector needs to be there. But also I want access to a prospector if I haven't bought one with real money. And that's where the renting of ships and the purchasing of ships with Alpha UEC comes in as well. So that is all super important. So for me, Star Citizen is starting to deliver, and it's made massive progress in the last year, much more than it has previously. I mean, it's been slow development, and it's going to be another couple of years at least before we have something even resembling a beta for the game. But what we should have by the end of the year is something that is a lot more mainstream than it previously has been. And it's something that I think is pretty reasonable and manageable to do on their roadmap at the moment. I am very much looking forward to CitizenCon as well now, and the holiday live stream later in the year. That will be awesome. But feel free to share your opinions in the comments below. Tell me if you think I've wildly overestimated the abilities of CIG and Star Citizen, or whether you think I've been pretty reasonable. I mean, I've looked through the roadmap, I've seen what they've been talking about in the monthly reports, and on the recent Chronicle devs and around the verses. We can see that they've been working on, and everything that we've talked about is very doable, but I think some people will definitely be disappointed that there's a lack of additional gameplay loops when it comes to, like, as I said, repair and salvage and stuff like that. Until the 10th of October, you can win a Saber Raven just by being a subscriber on my channel and commenting on any of my videos. This is one of 2 giveaways that will be happening on my channel this month, provided by My Radar, a mobile app for iOS and Android that provides up-to-the-minute weather information in the US, Europe and Japan, with service in Australia coming in by the end of 2018. It allows Star Citizen players to view detailed maps of the moons in-game as well. Yela, Selin and Daymar. A new version will be released this month that includes new features, including outpost markers and updated maps. Today's video is brought to you by F-Secure Total, premium cybersecurity for you and your devices. It includes Safe, an award-winning internet security suite, protecting you from ransomware, viruses, and while browsing the web. Freedom VPN, giving you net privacy, a way to access otherwise inaccessible content, while being secure and anonymous even on public Wi-Fi. Key, a password manager, allowing you to store your passwords securely and access them from any device. Total protects you and your device. You can try F-Secure Total, Internet Security and Privacy Suite free for 30 days. You can also use the code BoredGamer to get 20% off a subscription. Check out the links below for more information.